Enjoy episode 2 with the fantastic Karen Leigh from the Soul Sanctuary Glasgow. Enjoy, and thank you again for listening to Ritual Radio Podcast. Good day, and thank you for joining me today, Karen, my darling. We have Karen from Soul Sanctuary, based in Charing Cross, and we're going to just talk about her and her services and what she has to offer today, and everything woo-woo, everything and soul, mind, body, and soul healing. So thank you, Karen, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Justine.
Would you want to talk about a wee bit about yourself and obviously what it is you do and how you got into this?
Yep. So I've been doing hypnosis and NLP for 3 years now, and I wanted to, after my own journey of, where do we start? Low self-worth, limiting beliefs, negative self-talk. I just was really holding myself back. I had no confidence, no belief in myself, and I hit the lowest point where I just there was obviously still a spark in me because I really hit a low point. Honestly, it took like my mum to really, like, I had to reach out to her, and it started me on a sort of personal development journey. Long story, it took me years, really, honestly, and I did it on my own as well. So I wasn't really working with coaches or hypnotherapy. I started reading the books, like the personal development books, and listening to YouTube videos, and that did really help me, and that set me off in the right path. And I realised, back then I didn't know what limiting beliefs were or low self-worth. I think when you're in it, you just feel that's you and you can't change. That's just the way you are. I didn't, obviously, at school, we're not taught anything about mindset and how to change our mindset or how to feel empowered. And we're living in a society that isn't very nurturing for us. So we're kind of, so we're all feeding off each other. And it's a lot of negative energy, and that's just where I was. That's what I was caught up in. And once I noticed that I was reading these personal development books and listening to the podcasts and the YouTube videos, and I felt good because it was almost like I wasn't intentionally doing it, but it was actually starting to rewire my mind and my thoughts and my beliefs. And these books are telling me you are good enough, and you don't need to think I'm not good enough. You are good enough. And I'm like, oh, no one's ever told me this before. And it not just changed my thoughts, but it started to change how I felt inside.
It makes you feel good about yourself.
Yeah, it's amazing. If you're in an environment where you're hearing it's really hard to make money and you need to work really hard, and things like that just don't happen to people like us. It's not very empowering. It doesn't feel very good in your body because your body's responding to your thoughts and to your environment. That just set me off on a journey, and eventually it was actually I went to university because I got a bit of belief in myself. And I thought, I'm going to go back. I didn't finish school. I'm going to go to university. I studied business because I thought, well, I still had a limited mindset in the sense that I'm never going to be a psychologist. So I'll just go and study business because I'll definitely get a job in a corporate organization.
Yes, of course.
So I did. But it was a step. It was a step in the right direction. I did that, and then 2020 happened, and probably like so many people, I started reevaluating everything in my life.
100%.
I think we did. And whether it was our relationships or our jobs or just the lifestyle we had. And for me, it was everything. It was especially because I was just finishing uni at this point. And I thought, I don't want to work in corporate for the rest of my life. I liked it. I was already doing that. But I thought, it just doesn't give me drive and motivation and purpose. So then I felt very stuck. So I hired a life coach. And then that's basically slowly but surely led me into this work. I went down the NLP rabbit hole. And now what I do for a living.
Right. Well, we need to know, because I don't know too much about the NLP. So, let's go into that rabbit hole. Let's start, because I feel as if this might take us on to like another episode, because I feel as if there's a lot of information that people don't know, because I definitely didn't know. So I would really, if you're okay with that, obviously share as much as we can on this to educate, obviously, our listeners, because I feel as if it's definitely not, it's not known about a lot, and I feel
Yeah,
as if
I agree.
I feel as if it's definitely something that needs to be shared. So I'm excited for this.
Yeah. I think everyone's heard of Tony Robbins, I imagine, the big motivational speaker. He's very well known. So it's actually, his background is NLP. So, you know, when you see him picking someone from the audience and he'll change their whole physiology and just the way that he speaks to him, the words that he's using, and you see it, you see the change in real time. That's NLP that he's using. And although he doesn't talk about it so much, but that's what he's trained in. That's an expert in NLP. That's what he does. That's what when he's coaching, he's using NLP. And he talks a lot about limiting beliefs as well.
Of course, yes.
Yeah. So I remember 2020 time, maybe going into 2021, actually, you know, I believe in synchronicities, and you meet people and they recommend a book and then you read it, you know. So that's what happened. I came across someone, they recommended a book that changed their life, and it was Tony Robbins' Unlimited Power. So I went and I got the book, and he's talking, you know, in this book, it's a really big book. It took me, in fact, it took me like probably about a year to read because I've, you know, stopped and started.
Of course.
But he's talking about NLP, and he's really going into a lot of detail about NLP in this book. And I was lost. I hadn't heard of NLP at this point, and I ended up putting it down, and I'd go back to it. And he was talking, for me, it just felt like, I don't really understand this. I don't get what you're saying. So anyway, when I hired around the same time, hired a life coach, I now realised she was using NLP on me, although again, she didn't say that. She didn't tell me it was NLP. I only realised now looking back. But she really helped me get out of that place of feeling stuck. So that I hired her because I said, look, I've got this degree. I don't want to go working corporate. I don't know what I want to do.
Yeah, you're in that like middle, like you know you've got these all these different opportunities, but it's trying to navigate what's the best route. But it's what's the best route that's true to you, most importantly. That's the amazing thing that they've been able to help, but obviously using these techniques that you unknowingly knew that were happening, which has then led you into
so she was using, you know, she was giving me breakthroughs and realizations, and she was really unraveling and digging deep. And she was actually doing, we were working with the chakras as well. So she was like, working on the blocked energies, emotions, that my limiting beliefs were coming from these emotions that were just stuck in my body that I hadn't done anything with it, which was leaving me feeling stuck.
So would you say that would be like part of like our fear? See that fear that sometimes like it gives us that mental block, like we can't do that. We're not good enough to do that. Would that come into that?
Yeah, but every decision we make is emotionally driven. So mine was fear. That fear was holding me back. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of making a fool of myself for trying something new, coming out of my comfort zone. So there was definitely a lot of fear holding me back. And then fear, if we're feeling fear, our thoughts are a result of that fear. So our narrative in our mind will be, you can't do that. You need to, you know, that's too scary. People will laugh at you. People will judge you. Yeah, don't do that. You'll probably fail at that. So, and that's, you know what, our subconscious mind takes everything literally. It's not against us, but if our subconscious mind is picking up on fear in our body, it wants to keep us safe. So our thoughts become a result of that. And NLP is where we start to rewire. We get to the root. So we get to the root of it. It might be an emotional block. Might be an event that's happened that we want to get to the root of that, because that's caused us to have these limiting beliefs about ourselves and our capabilities. So NLP just allows us to get to the root, let it go, and then that makes space for new empowering beliefs. And if you think of it like a triangle, you've got your beliefs at the top, so what you believe about yourself. In the middle, you'll have your thoughts. Am I getting that the right way? Sorry. At the bottom, you've got your beliefs, which are then affecting your thoughts. So your thoughts are a result of your beliefs. And then at the top of the triangle, you've got your emotions. So whatever we're thinking, our body's responding. So we're feeling. If we're thinking, I can't wait, I'm going to go for that. You know, I'm so excited, I'm going to achieve that. That feels good in our body.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's like I've got an event tomorrow, and I'm nervous. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, I'm excited. But my body is feeling the effects of what's coming out my mouth.
Yeah. And,
So
it's okay
relate
to
to
feel
that, yeah.
nervous. I think it's just, it's what you do with that. It's like an energy, isn't it?
Oh,
When you feel
100%.
nervous, it's an energy, and it's what you do with that.
Yeah. No, I think it's such a fascinating way to put things in, but it's like it's
Mm.
simple. I feel as if it simplifies things when the
Yeah.
way that you just word it. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people will benefit just from understanding that their
Yeah.
thoughts obviously then have emotions, which then give
Mhm.
us these outcomes. And if we
Yeah.
just take it back and change
Yeah.
that about, it can change the events,
Mhm.
which can make things a lot simpler for us. And
Yeah.
it's calming. It feels very good just talking about that there. I feel as if I'm
Yeah.
already getting a session.
Yeah. Yeah, because
It's
it's like
fantastic.
it's reframing the narrative as well. It's like you
Mhm,
mentioned fear, and fear can hold us back, but
mhm.
it's fear is an energy, and it's
Yeah,
what we do with that. So we can let it hold us back, or we can
yeah,
use it to propel us forward. So
exactly.
fear might tell me what I don't want in my life, but I'm focusing on the what I don't want. I don't want to be humiliated or be judged, but
Mhm.
actually I really want this to achieve this goal. So I'm going to use this fear to get me there, you know?
Yeah.
It's
No,
using it
definitely.
using it in the right way. It's just
Ah,
reframing. It's not overnight,
of
but it
course.
takes work, but
'Cause, well, I'm coming up for 35, so it's, do you know what I mean? It's 34 years worth of work you're
yeah.
trying to then undo.
Yep, I
It
know.
definitely doesn't happen overnight. And I
Mm.
think a lot of people need to understand that as you
Mhm.
can only guide them, but they need to actually put that work into
Mhm.
themselves for it to actually happen as well,
Yep. Mhm.
because you're the one that is giving them all the pillars that they need to
Yeah.
build that great foundation. It's
Mhm.
them that needs to obviously add all the framework and the windows and the doors
Yeah.
for the rest
And
of it.
sometimes it takes someone else to see your blind spots as well. So even me, I still have a mentor, and
Mhm.
sometimes they'll say something because I'm not seeing it in a different perspective. I'm only
Yep,
seeing it through my view of the world, and they'll say,
100%.
"What
Yeah,
about this?" And I'll say, "Oh, didn't
yeah.
see that." That
It
just makes it,
clicks.
yeah. And it
The
means
light
I've been taking the long path when there's
Yep,
such an easier solution, but I can't see that. It takes for someone to ask me the right question for me to
yeah.
say, "Oh." And it's not advice, so I don't give advice because, I just mentioned my view of the world. We all have
Of
our own views of
course.
the world, so
Yeah,
my advice might actually hold someone else back. I need to let them find what works for them.
yep, yeah, and giving them the foundations, do you know what I mean,
Yeah,
to go down to it and obviously
yeah.
find out what it is that they need to work on.
Mhm.
Would you have any tips for anybody that is wanting to obviously incorporate like what they could do like in their morning routine to even add a bit
Mhm.
more of a positive mindset?
Yeah.
Would you have any tips for anybody for that?
Yep. So I would say my cat's in the background. I'm so sorry. She's making, if you can hear her. So from in the morning, I would say be mindful of what you're still in especially in those first few moments, and we can tend to grab our phone, and there might be something that we're looking at that maybe isn't, I don't know, it could be something like a news notification or just something. And when we're still in that morning groggy state, we're really sensitive to information and how it
Yeah,
makes us feel, and it really can set us up for the whole day. So I would say for a morning routine, people, it's doing what's right for you. So even though people talk about journaling and
yeah.
meditation, not, you don't have to do that.
No, I know.
So but it's being mindful of what you're consuming. So what are you reading? What are you listening to? What conversations are you having? Or what are you saying even to yourself in the morning? Be
Yeah,
mindful of your self-talk. Because all of that can really set you up for the day. So rather than maybe grabbing for your phone, or if you are grabbing for your phone, maybe you want to listen to something that's going to feed your mind, like an
yeah,
audiobook, or just yeah. So I would say those first that first half an hour is crucial
yeah,
for setting us up for the day. It can really make or break our day. So just being
definitely.
mindful of what you're consuming the first thing in the morning.
100%. Yeah. No, I totally agree with you.
Mhm.
I'm just trying to wake up. I'm like that in the morning. So
Yeah, I know, I know.
I'm like, oh, no technology, no bright lights. I'm like, oh no, I can't handle that. Just trying to wake myself up. Do you have any stories about like any, obviously we can't share client confidentiality,
Mhm.
but just like any any like what's the word that I'm thinking of? Any moments where it's just made you think like, oh, this is why I'm doing this job. This like you've just seen the progress of someone over time, that you're proud for them, that they've done the hard work for themselves. Have you got any like stories that you could tell us about that?
I mean, there's honestly, so every session that I have is so unique because their problem and their outcome that they want is unique. And so our sessions, no session, even hypnotherapy, is the same because it's tailored to them. So honestly, all of them give me, it's like it does make me proud, but of them, because they can't always see that they're capable of doing it, you know.
Definitely.
So when you see them having their own unique breakthroughs and realizations, that's definitely very rewarding for me as well, because it's not me, it's them that's doing it. Like you mentioned earlier, I'm just the guide. I'm using the tools and techniques to work with our subconscious minds to allow them to have those breakthroughs. So but if we're talking a specific session I've had, I do something called timeline therapy, and that's about, again, working with our subconscious and getting to the root of emotions. So we work with emotions like anger, fear, sadness, because they're very dominant driver emotions. Think of all the decisions we've made out of anger or sadness or guilt, you know.
Definitely.
So if we have all this unaddressed anger or guilt in our body, then we're probably not making positive and productive choices because of that. So timeline therapy allows us to get to the root. And then once we've done that, we go on to do a separate technique where it allows us to let go of the limiting beliefs we've taken on because of those emotions. And I mean, I always say it can take days, weeks, months to have to process what you've just gone through, because you've gone through, when you're sitting having timeline therapy or NLP or hypnotherapy, there is a lot that you're unraveling. It's like you're loosening everything up. So it can take days, weeks, months to process things. And I remember someone coming back 6 months later. It was actually a bit longer, but they'd had this big breakthrough. 6 months later, they told me a while after that they basically they felt it was like a physical purge 6 months later, and they felt a release from, they had a traumatic event which had caused all of this emotional build-up that was in their body. And so it took 6 months before, even though there was a lot of positive and progression that happened in that time. But it was 6 months where she
that
felt
weight being lifted, physical weight being lifted off them. That's I feel as if that's amazing for your client, especially to notice it within themselves. And I think when you see your clients being more aware and more I feel as if it's been them being kinder to themselves is like the biggest accomplishment, because they are so hard on themselves and they do put themselves down so much. But seeing that change within, and 6 months I feel as if that's a short period of time, because you can go through so much stuff. But for them to feel that physical lift, like that, I'm like that. I know. That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing to hear that, because that's fantastic work for you, because you're guiding. But do you know what I mean? You're giving them the guidance, and then they can, or the advice. What's the best words to use? Would it be guidance?
I say guidance. I mean, I'm providing them with the tools and the techniques that they'll have for life.
Because it is, and it's so nice to hear someone doing such good healing work though as well, because you hear about obviously all these different types of healing, and like timeline healing, that's another one that you've learned today that I'm like, oh, this is another thing we can talk about. There's like so much different types, and that's the whole point of this podcast as well, is so that people can come on and find someone that suits them, because I might not suit them, but you might suit them, or someone else might suit them. And it's just having that knowledge, but also trust that they know that I trust you, so they know that then obviously they can trust. And I just feel it's what you've spoken about so far is just phenomenal, and it's so enjoyable. And I don't want to not stop talking to you, because I just like, it sounds fabulous. Everything that you do, it just sounds so intriguing because it sounds simple, but I know it's going to be a lot of work. But the way that you made it sound, it's something that would suit me because I don't like things to be overcomplicated because then I get like an overload going on inside the head. And I feel as if that like a lot of people that are maybe fearful from learning and these techniques, this is something that would definitely suit them because it's just taking it right down to the basics. And it sounds a lot easier for someone to transition into it in a sense, if I'm right.
Yeah, I think it's important to say as well, so timeline therapy actually comes from NLP, so it's using NLP techniques, but it's also, even though we're dealing with, they might be going back to traumatic times in their lives, that might be the root cause, but I think it's important to say that, that it's all dissociated, so it's designed in a way that they're not actually reliving it, because if you're sitting telling someone about traumatic things that have happened to you in the past, that have obviously caused this, that we're now left with this problem that it's causing in your life, if you're telling someone this story for 5, 10, 15 minutes, your body's reliving it. What we're speaking, we're feeling. So we don't actually, in NLP and timeline therapy, they can give me a sentence. I actually don't need to know. I don't need to know the event. We're focused on the problem that it's caused, not the event itself. So we address the event in a disassociated way. So it's like they're looking down. So it's called timeline because they're high up on their timeline, looking down at the event so they can address it. We still want to acknowledge that it happened, but we don't want them to go back and be in it and feel it and talk about it. There's really no need for that. So I just thought that was worth I don't want anyone thinking to heal, they have to talk about their bad times.
No, definitely, because I'll personal experience in doing my healing, I was doing things and I felt as if it was a lot of repeating my trauma, and I'm like, I don't want to repeat and repeat and repeat. It was putting me off the healing process, and I had to take a step away because I just felt as if I'm repeating, and like you said, you don't need to relive that. You don't.
Traumatizing yourself all over again by talking about it.
And I'm so glad you said that because I have personally felt that before, and it's so valuable to have my feelings actually acknowledged as well, just in that wee short sentence that you said. So thank you so much for that. I just feel as if it's definitely something I know that I would definitely enjoy, but I feel as if a lot of people would enjoy this form of release and healing. It's just so calming. Like, it sounds as if it's one of those, it's a comfortable therapy. Do you know what I mean? It's comfortable that you're not having to relive everything. Most importantly, and I'm so glad you did put that in, because I feel as if that's probably the most important part of like today's kind of conversation, is we don't need to keep reliving.
I think we feel that we need to tackle the event that happened, but that can't be changed, whatever it is that's led to. And I must say, I've not had any big traumatic event in my life that's caused me for me to have low self-worth, low self-belief. It was just things dotted throughout my childhood, things that were said to me. My environment wasn't very empowering at times, and there was a lot of limitations or limited mindsets around me. And so that's what led me into low self-worth, limiting beliefs. So it's not the event itself that we actually need to focus on. It's the problems. It's what you're left with because of all these events.
All the emotions. We need to process all the different emotions that are attached. Would that be right in a sense? Like what's attached itself to that?
Yep. So it's so, like I mentioned, so they're all connected. So for
the triangle.
And it might, for some people, it might not feel emotional as such. It might be more the negative narrative in their mind that's very dominant. But obviously there's emotions with that, but it's actually the negative self-talk that's more prominent and really holding them back. So it'll be different. For some, it might just be they know that they've got deep-rooted limiting beliefs that are really holding them back. So
so
they're all connected.
Do you just do one-to-ones, or do you do group sessions? Where, like, what is it you do in a sense to classes and obviously private sessions with you?
So I do one-to-ones. I have a 6-week coaching program, which is one-to-one, but I also do it in a group setting as well. So
Okay.
women sometimes prefer that. Sometimes it's financial, or sometimes they actually just want to be on a journey with like-minded women who are also on the
Definitely.
same journey as them. And
100%. It makes it a bit easier when you've got people, doesn't it, as well, that are in a similar situation. You're all there for healing.
Yep, and I always say I'm in it with them as well. So it's all of us, and it's like a little container. We have an online platform where we're not just meeting once a week for an hour on a call, but in between we have a platform where we can share, where they can hold themselves accountable, where they can say, I've just had this breakthrough, don't really know what to do with this.
Yeah.
And they know they're in a safe space because everyone's going through this on this journey with them.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So is it just online, or do you do in-person stuff as well?
So I do both. Yeah, I actually started off online. I set my business up to be online, and I was working with people all over the UK, in America as well. I've lived in America for a short time as well. And I came back last year and I set up Soul Sanctuary, so headquarters. So I had my Soul Sanctuary women's circles. I found a space where I could hold in-person hypnotherapy, NLP, my women's circles. So it just became Soul Sanctuary headquarters. So I do both now. I do in person and online.
Oh, that's amazing. So where is your in-person based? Where are you in Glasgow?
So Charing Cross, it's Newton Terrace, which is just off Sauchiehall Street, Charing Cross area. It's
easy enough to get to. Trains, buses, everything. Oh, I would definitely recommend the train. I prefer the train to the bus.
Yeah.
I don't say so myself. But no, that's fantastic that you're really, because that's central. The city centre is such a good place to have, because it means like every angle from obviously roundabout Glasgow you can get in, not a problem. But it's also good that you're online, because if you're not nearer, you can obviously still receive the same, obviously, group sessions, one-on-one sessions. Do you have a website?
I do. It's iamkarenleigh.com. Yeah, I'll leave it. You can leave the link for people.
I'll pop that down so that everybody has your details. Obviously, she's on Instagram. That's how I found her. Is there anything that you want to add in just before obviously we finish up today's wee session? I cannot thank you enough for today. Like, I've left, like, I'm going to be ending this like in a high. Like, I feel as if I've had like a free session of you today.
Amazing. I love that.
Honestly, your energy is just so calming, and it's like talking to someone you've known your full life. You definitely have that beautiful aura that people need. Especially when it comes to healing, and it's so nice to be in your company, and I just want to say thank you so much.
Oh, likewise, Justine. Thank you for having me.
No, it's it's been so excited. I just feel as if like this is the only start of something small, and I feel as if this is definitely we're going to do good with what we do, because obviously I come from like the psychic mediumship side, Reiki side, but
love that.
It's like so, your stuff's so interesting. I'm like, I need to know more about this.
Yeah, it is. Honestly, I could talk about it all day. I think our subconscious mind is so fascinating, because we just don't know our own power. You know, I think every day, and honestly, sometimes I still find myself giving my power away, and I need to rein it in and remind myself that in this particular situation, I'm giving my power away. You know, my coaching program is called Step Into Your Power, because it literally is. It's taking your power back and consciously taking action, you know, because
that's what I say to everybody. I'm like, you need to step into your power, because it's there in front of us. We need to take that step, because that's what my mentor used to say to me when I was going into my and I used to be, and he would take my hand and he would go, step into your power now. And I physically done it because I had to, so that my subconscious knew that I was right. It's time. And I can't believe that's what it's actually called, because I'm like, that's what I always say, because I'll even say it subconsciously to myself, right, Justine, we're stepping out of our power. And I'm like, that's exact, yes. And it makes so much sense, you just saying that.
Yeah.
But it's exactly It is, because we have the power. We've always got it.
We forget because it's not we're not being told. We weren't, I feel like we were all born with our self-worth turned all the way up, with our self-belief turned all the way up. Yep. And we find ourselves in a society and a system that's just not nurturing that or empowering that. It's quite the opposite. It's disempowering and chipping away at our confidence and our self-worth.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I think with me being a mum as well and having kids obviously in the public school sector as well, that you can see things that are still there even when I was at school, and it's not building character, and it's getting them to dull the light. And it's like, okay, right, we need to figure out how we can still allow people, and kids especially, to have the light bright and not be dulled, because I totally understand with I feel as if school does have a big effect on us, depending on the type of child we are growing up. And I know I probably wasn't the quietest in class, but it definitely, the time I got to finishing, I was not as bright as what I was when I first. It is, and it's exactly what you're saying, and it's crazy how much society just affects us as humans. It's horrible in a sense. It's not nice at all.
Yeah.
And I think that's how I want to learn more about, not just obviously the stuff that I've learned, but more about different practices, because I've got 2 young boys that I want to grow into young, beautiful men, and I want them to, might not be my Reiki, might not, do you know what I mean? It might be NLP stuff that might help them when they're older. It might be Reiki, it could be a sound bath, it could be different forms of different things. And I feel as if this is why I want to get, like yourself and other small businesses out there, because there's so much that people can learn from us, help themselves, but it might also then help their kids or children that they know, or teenagers, or just other young members of their family.
Definitely.
We need it to be shouting from the rooftops.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I feel that's actually the phrase that I've been using. I want to shout this from the rooftops, because you said, don't really know anything about NLP until I find you, and it's not. And I honestly feel NLP isn't so much in the mainstream. I feel it's because it works, and we can. I feel.
I didn't know. I've heard about hypnosis, but the NLP, that was like.
I mean, imagine if everyone knew their power and walked about with complete, self-worth, self-belief in their capabilities and their opportunities in the world. The world would be shaken up a little bit if we had a world full of empowered people.
Yeah. That's why we don't suit the corporate world.
I know.
As much as we could do it, because that's where I've done as well, but I can't earn any more money for the big men that have got their pockets bursting.
Yeah.
I'll make my own money, thank you. Keep it that.
The same.
And there's enough for everybody. That's the big thing. There's enough people in the world, and that's the thing. Another thing, and I keep saying that, I'm like, I just want people to have that it's like me having yellow pages. That's what I want me to be like. It's like, right, you've got Justine, but then you've got these wee list of people that right, there's going to be somebody in here that I know is going to be able to help me with this.
Yeah, it's a great idea. I love it.
It's just, I feel as if this is definitely a fantastic one to start off. Many more to come. So thank you so much.
No problem.
I will obviously put all your social media details when this podcast gets released. So there's not a date yet, but when you're watching this, I am so excited. And thank you.
I welcome everyone just to come and say hi and let me know you came from Justine's podcast.
Yes, please, obviously, please go over and follow. I will pop everything down below. And thank you so much, Karen. Honestly, thank you so much.